Hello again and welcome back. We are sitting down with our Minerals Commission. For the next 3 weeks or so, we'll be focusing significantly on small-scale mining, especially because Galamsey is such a topical issue. CEO of the Minerals Commission, Mr. Martin Ayisi, will be giving us insights into what the government is doing within the small-scale mining space and specifically what is happening with the fight against Galamsey. For the next 3 discussions, we'll look at the background and where small-scale mining is undertaken and as well as its contributions to the Ghanaian economy. If you are interested in being a legitimate small-scale miner, we'll give you the opportunity to listen to the processes leading to the acquisition of a license to enable you engage in legal small-scale mining. Legal mining that will protect our water bodies and protect our environment, that you can also be a part of. Mr. Ayisi has sat with us at the table this morning and will kick off our conversations now. Mr. Ayisi, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, Tema.
The idea is that all small-scale mining is illegal. Is that true?
No. A huge no. A big no. So let me give you some background. I'm happy the way you introduced the subject matter. I'm going to spend the whole of June here to discuss small-scale mining. Tema, let me start this way. Small-scale mining has been with us all the way to the 15th century. Kind of a prehistoric thing. And even before the, if you like, Europeans came here. When did they arrive? 1471 or whatever. You know, several of them, and then finally were colonized by the British between 1874 and 1957. So it's been with us, particularly in the Akan areas, especially in Ashanti. I mean, they've been using gold for centuries. Okay, so those days, even our grandparents would tell you when it rains, like the recent floods, they go behind their houses and they pick stuff. Or they have this panning stuff that they do in those streams also without mercury, without anything. And life was normal. They were using gold. I mean, the name Gold Coast was not for the fun of it. They came to see us using gold. Now, throughout the colonial period, it was not allowed. Or for want of a better word, it was discouraged. Then, when we got independence, 1957, all the way in Nkrumah era, discouraged. So it was, if you like, still illegal. And then NLC at Champon time, all the way to 1989. So that means that until 1989, nobody was allowed to carry out small-scale mining activities lawfully. Lawfully. That is it. Now, what led to the legalization or the process of formalizing it from 1989? We just realized that a lot of gold was being traded in Togo. Okay, particularly Togo, a lot of gold. And then it was discovered that most of the gold came from Ghana. So smuggling was taking place. So here you are, most of your gold was getting to Togo across the borders. They were making the money. And then you sit here and then you look on. So if you've done some reading in school or maybe doing your tertiary education, at least you've heard about this World Bank reform, structural adjustment, economic recovery program during the Kwesi Bochu era. So some of the reforms covered the entire mining sector. So steps were taken to allow people to do it formally. So quickly, 1989, 3 laws were passed. The first one was the mercury law. So actually a law was passed to allow them to use mercury, to access and use mercury. Okay, it's not just the situation now is so sad. So you had the mercury law, PNDC law 217, 1989. I mean, you can see the chronology or the succession. Then you have PNDC law 218, small scale gold law. So the first attempt to formally allow any Ghanaian to undertake small scale locally was the small scale gold law, PNDC law 218, 1989. Then they also passed the PMC law. Okay, that's small scale law PMC Law 219, also in 1989. So 1989, those were the three legislations that came into force: the Mercury Law, the Small Scale Gold Law, and PMC. Because you see, when the miners now produce a gold lawfully, they have to sell to an entity. That's how come that PMC was supposed to buy them. Okay, and at a point in time they stop. Now they are back doing it for gold, for oil. So Tema, background wise, small scale was allowed lawfully 34 years ago. Now at that time it was just 4 or 5 regions. So Ashanti region, Eastern region, Central region, especially the Twi speaking area. If you go to the Denchwa area, so Dunkwa to be precise. So I've mentioned 3 regions: Ashanti, Eastern, Central. The Western region, Western, which now has been split into 2, Western North and then Western region. So the then Western region that encompasses these 2 regions now: Ashanti, Eastern, Central, and then Upper East. So Minerals Commission quickly established office in Bolga, in I think Akwetia, Odan, Takwa, okay, Dunkwa. The offices are still there now. So the small scale mining activities were just in these 4 or 5 regions. Tema, as we speak, 34 years on, you are talking about 12 to 13 regions in Ghana where small scale is being undertaken on a large scale. When I say large scale, the numbers, I mean the numbers. Okay? Now, we have moved away from about 100, 200,000 to over 3 million. So I'll discuss that shortly. So in summary, this is the history behind how small scale mining started. Prehistoric, discouraged throughout the colonial period, all the way until 1989. 3 laws were passed to formalize it, and an activity that was being undertaken in 4 or 5 regions. Now you're talking about 13 regions. So this is some kind of history. Maybe if you have some other questions, fine. Yeah. I'll go to the contributions.
How is it that back then, 34 years ago, we had a mercury law that allowed mercury? That has been found to be unsafe for the environment, and it's been changed. And with the advent of technology, new mining techniques have come up. Back in the day, 34 years ago, when these things were happening, we were not seeing our river bodies like this. We were not seeing the River Pra looking like this. But now with the advent of technology, we are having these issues. Our forefathers who started small-scale mining years ago didn't do this to the environment. Why are we the ones who are witnessing the current scenes?
Yeah. Tema, I will want to share that discussion, if you permit me, so that when we start discussing the last segment, which is the illegal mining, the Galamsey proper, because that's a whole session, then maybe I'll talk about that. After discussing the history behind it, I would love to talk about the contributions.
The contributions to the economy.
So that people understand the kind of thing that is at play here. And then we'll have a whole session on Galamsey, the causes, the drivers behind it, what government is doing, and then now I can answer your question.
We'll certainly book that date.
Yes.
So mining has brought us many benefits. What are the ways in which we've benefited beyond what we know is the gold itself, the shiny metal?
So, Tema, let me talk about the contributions of small-scale mining. That is not normally when I discuss a contribution, people say, "Oh, he's oblivious to the environmental impacts." No, we also discuss that, and then what government is doing. So, if you ask me, Tema, you have, and I'll touch mainly on 5 key contributions of small-scale mining to the economy. One, I have just said that an activity that just years ago was being undertaken in 4 or 5 regions is now being done in about 12, 13 regions. For me, the first most important contribution is the fact that small-scale mining is a source of livelihood for 3 million people. 3 million. So you are talking about at least not less than 10% of Ghana's population living on small-scale mining. Tema, I want you to understand this because I'm speaking to the general public. I am not talking about employment. The word livelihood is so loaded and so strong. So give me some time to explain. When I say 3 million people are, their source of livelihood is on small-scale mining. Now, you have persons who are directly involved in the actual mining. Those who pick up licenses go into the pit there or underground and dig those stuff there. Those are small scale miners. Okay. Sometimes the people who hold the license also employ people. That is it. So you have thousands of people doing it that way. So that is direct employment. Now, Telma, if you go to any small scale site, you went the other time to underground, large scale, but I think I need to arrange some documentary for you on small scale too. You go to a small scale site, you find a lot of ladies. By the way, there are more women in small scale than men. If you care to know, there are more women in small scale mining than men.
Are they actual miners or do they?
So let me finish with the livelihood scenario, then you understand. For instance, every small scale site, you find a lot of women who have mounted food joints. Okay? Because they are in there, deep in the bush there. And then they are selling any local food, banku, fufu, whatever. Okay? So they are selling water, they are selling food. So when they go to the pit and go and work, they come and eat. Just like the way you went to Wasa underground. They brought the food, everything. That one, they have a caterer who takes the food underground. Now, in the case of the small scale people, the women come to the site, and then when they go, they run shifts. Some of them even 24 hours. Then they come and eat, and then they go back to the mine. They are just there from the same community. So for the several women who are sending all kinds of foodstuffs around the small scale mine, that is their source of livelihood. So if you take away the mine, it means that all those women who are doing all those trading stuff, you have destroyed their job. So when we are counting the 3 million, we count the women who are trading around the small scale site. Now, there are several mechanics at Suame and Co. that services the machines and all those equipment they use. Their livelihood also depend on what? Small scale mining. So when we say livelihood, that's what we mean. Now you go to a place like Takwa, Prestia, Dunko and Co. I mean, you go to the central business district there are people who are selling cloth, water, all kinds of things, like our Makola there. You understand that? The entire Takwa township is a municipality. Forget about those two large-scale mines, Idua Prim and Gold Coast. They have direct employees. When the small-scale people are working, money circulates in the economy, they go to the central business district and shop. Today, if you decide that nobody should do small-scale mining in, let's say, a place like Takwa Prestia, it means that those towns will die. Do you understand? So all the women and men who are trading in the markets there, okay, their source of livelihood is linked or intertwined with the small-scale miners. So that's the first contribution. It is a source of livelihood. Number two, government is talking about gold for oil. Okay, where they buy the gold and then they take it out and then get the oil. Okay, they buy the gold in cities. So that saves us a lot of foreign exchange. The gold they are buying for the gold for oil program is coming from the small scale. So that is something we cannot discount or downplay. Now, the other third contribution is that the small scale miners contribute no less than a third of Ghana's gold. A third of Ghana's gold. By the way, until recently when government was buying all the gold through PMC, when they ship the gold, they are supposed to return about 80%. So that also shows, shows up reserves. Now, there's something people are also forgetting. The jewelry that are made here, okay? I'm not talking about the one that we started importing from Dubai or now recently Turkey. This is my wedding ring. It was locally made. The source of the gold for the jewelry is small scale. Large scale, they don't provide gold for jewelry. So all these goldsmiths and all those people who do all these rings you are wearing, this stuff that you are wearing all came from the small scale gold. So it is also a source of raw gold for the jewelry industry. So when you stop small scale, you are killing the jewelry industry. That is that. So they provide the source for the jewelry industry, that's the gold. Millions depend on it as livelihood, direct and indirect. It is also for gold for oil program. And then one other thing that you also know, it will shock a lot of people, the small scale tends to be the precursor to large scale. More often than not, it is when the small scale started their, if you like, koli or they start those stuff, very, very minute. That is when the large scale people tend to find out that, then there could be something here. Then they deploy the what do you call it, this advanced technology to get some places around for large-scale mining. So employment, livelihood, source of raw gold for the jewelry industry, precursors for large-scale exploration, and then we're also saying it's a source of that is where we are getting our gold for the oil program. So by and large, this is what small scale has been doing for our economy, and I'm talking about 12, 13 regions. So Tema, I'll have to emphasize this. So when somebody gets up and says stop small scale mining, there are three issues I can state clearly. One, either they do not have the information, they don't have the facts. I'm sure you are shocked to hear that we have over 3 million people who depend on small scale. Either they don't have the facts and the knowledge, so we have a duty as a regulator to educate the general public. I am not damning the consequences of the environment. We'll talk about that. That is the anger from Ghanaians. So you don't have the knowledge, you don't know what the situation on the ground. There are a lot of people who have never traveled outside Accra. There are people who have never traveled outside Accra. You will see somebody who tell you that even, but for the fact that he was going to read engineering at KNUST, secondary school, born bred, everything in Accra. So everything he knows about small scale is the kind of thing he sees on television and what you are displaying here in this bottle. He's never been to a small scale site. And I'm sure a lot of your colleagues here even have not been to small scale mining site. So he's judging whatever he knows about the small scale, about what he sees on telly. So it's important they get this information. So people don't have information and they are saying all kinds of things. So I can understand that. That's why I'm here. Two, it could also be that, yes, people go around, but they don't have the real situation on the ground. They don't know what is on the ground. So they are at liberty to say, if a lie, for want of a better word, what they also think. Okay? People forward all kinds of things on WhatsApp and they use that to judge the small scale industry. Then the third one, maybe they have the information, they know they are just being malicious. Now, there are millions or thousands who are doing it illegally. I'll talk about illegal mining maybe in the next segment. Who are doing it illegally? We say it is wrong. Don't go to the water body, don't go to the forest. It's our duty to ensure that we assist them properly. Then there are also several thousands, if not millions, who are doing it lawfully. They have all the authorizations and approval. They have the license, they have EPA, they have the chief inspector of operating permit. So take, let's say, Obi Mining, who was declared the best small scale miner last year. I would love for you to go there and do some documentary on him. He has been mining the same place for over 10 years. Okay? He has even done some CSRs for the community. So that is one. Take Bongo Soin. They were doing it illegally. Now they have license. They've been given gold catcher. They are working. You've given livelihood to close to 100 people. Then Bole, there's a place called Calaf. There are 3,000 small-scale miners there who go underground. Environmentally, they are not impacting the landscape. So we said there's no need to send a security there. Let us assist them to do it properly. So they are putting up their structures. We send 3 gold catchers. So Tema, in about 2-3 weeks or roughly a month, 3,000 people who were illegal miners in Bole will now have license to work properly. I think that is what we should be doing, and that's what we should be telling people, that this is what is happening. Don't look at the water body. Yes, I appreciate the anger. Don't look at the water body. Don't look at the prayer and say, I made this simple joke on Asempa last week. So my sister is a thief or a criminal, and for that matter, my other sister cannot be married. Or your brother is a criminal, and for that matter, your other siblings cannot get suitors. So we shouldn't, in our anger of what is happening, the outrage, what is happening in the forest, what is happening to the water body, say that because of that we should just get up and ban it. Everywhere in the world, any government that wants to design a program, economic policy, etc., you don't just do things because you want to do things. You must also balance economic livelihood. It's not everybody who wants to farm. So what do you do with 3 million people if you say stop small scale mining? What do you do? Okay, you're going to make a bad situation worse. What do you do? 3,000 people at Calaf in Bole district are now about to do it lawfully. Is that not beautiful? Bongo people, why East? So this is the kind of thing Minerals Commission is doing to make sure that people who want to work lawfully are assisted to do it. Government is taking millions of cedis to buy mercury-free machine.
So help us understand some of those steps, the steps government is taking to ensure that this space is kept sanitized and
So
play by the rules.
So that takes me to your first question. Now, government is saying that there's a way you can do it lawfully. Just come to Minerals Commission, will assist you. And that's what we've done for Bongo. We are doing for Boli and Wise and several other places. Now, government is also saying that mercury is killing us. Was it 2 weeks ago we came here and then you were interviewing some group that they said there's a link between autism and the use of mercury. Now, the government has signed the Minamata Convention. It's even ratified, which says take steps to eliminate mercury. Because the doctors will tell you it has all kinds of damage to the body and the water body. So government is saying, okay, to prevent people from using mercury, I'm going to give you a technology that will not use mercury, just water. So next week, I'll show you the good culture and how it works. So that is one. And this is being done by government. They take taxpayers' money, they buy the what do you call it, this equipment, they give it to the miners and do what they call like the taxi drivers work and pay. It's a lot of money. So they give it to them, go and work and pay. It recovers more than 90% as against mercury 40%. So what it simply means that within the next 3, 4, 5 years, if we sustain this distribution of mercury-free machine to all these small-scale miners, okay, we will not only reduce the incidence of mercury, but we'll be on the verge of eliminating them. So that is working. And also, as for the forest, because we don't give licenses for small-scale in the forest and the water body, there's nothing we can do than to continuously ask the security people to go and evict them, because they go there midnight. They go there by now they are out. So they go there like 11 p.m. They work all the way to like 3, 4 a.m. and leave. So the soldiers are there patrolling. When we pick the intelligence, they deal with that because we don't handle security issue. So we are working closely with the assemblies and the chiefs, to deal with some of these canker. So yes, we're getting grants for them. We're giving them machine and government is buying their good. These things will take time. But for the water body and pra, which were not looking like apple juice or orange juice years ago, we will need to deal with it. But I will not subscribe to some views from some quarters because of the anger and the outrage to say stop small-scale mining altogether. We've been there before, it didn't help us. Other than that, I need somebody to tell me what do you do with 3 million people, their livelihoods. Of course, that somebody too also needs to ask me that hard question, what about the environmental impact? But it's not everywhere. You go to the northern part and they have the most lovely way of doing the small scale because many of them is underground. But we have to prevent them from dying and make sure that they do it in a very safe manner. That's why we are assisting them. Also, Bongo is underground, Tinga is underground, Dakupe is underground, Bole is underground. So you don't see environmental impact on the surface. They just go down there. You give them the mercury, they are going to work and they are properly addressed following the operational manual. So what do you tell Bongo people? What do you tell Boli people? What do you tell people in Calaf? What do you tell people in Dakupe and Tinga? Well, what are you going to tell people in Boli when you hear them people say that stop small-scale mining? They don't disturb the surface. That's why those places, the security people are not disturbing them. We are rather assisting them to do it in a more friendly manner and giving them licenses. So the two are working side by side, helping them to do it properly. And then for the water body and the forest, we're not going to compromise. It will take time because you see, Thelma, sometimes this is the hard truth. You go to some areas, the entire community is involved. Can you imagine, you see the kind of thing police people go through? Sometimes they go to some of these places to go and make arrests, maybe arrest one person. They have about 200 people coming out, trying to prevent the police from doing their work. 3, 4, 5 policemen, what do they have to do? They have to go back. If you're not careful, you can create a very bad situation. And then maybe come another time, organize a swoop, or track the guy down in a different way. You cannot say that because you're coming to arrest one person. I'm not a policeman, but we've been seeing this thing happening. Because you're coming to arrest one person at my village, and you have 200 people coming out to face 200 policemen, 5 policemen resisting arrest, you go ahead. You end up shooting people. You go and come another time. So that's the same thing. So sometimes the challenges we have is that because some chiefs are involved. There's no doubt about that. There are some chiefs are involved, and then some chiefs who are fighting the canker, in supporting our fight. So you go to a community 200, 300, 400 or 5,000 people, and right from the chief and everybody living there, that's what they do for a living. It is not easy to resolve it. Okay, you go sit down, tell them, oh, it's fine, we can help you resolve it. A few of them will come from line and say, no, listen to, oh, we'll sort it out. We'll even partner. You leave, they go back to the water body.
We booked another date to talk about the licensing procedures, and we'll also talk about illegal mining and its impact on the environment. Recently, I understand that you partnered some of your stakeholders to have a session in Fiapre to exhibit some of the gold catchers.
Yes.
And so perhaps in the coming weeks, we'll get the opportunity to talk about that.
So the technology, the machines, and all those things that have been introduced now to make sure that we stop these kind of things that are displaying before me.
So Mr. Ayisi has told us today the key contributions of small-scale mining to the economy. He's mentioned that it's a source of livelihood for 3 million people. It's the source of the gold for oil policy that government is currently undertaking. 1/3 of Ghana's gold is produced by the small-scale mining space. And the jewelries that we use locally, those that the local jewel companies use to make necklaces and rings, also come from small-scale mining, making the point that many lives will be affected if that is not allowed to continue. But steps are underway between the Minerals Commission and government and its partners to ensure that mining is always done legally and in a safe manner that is not harmful to the environment. It's the key point I'm taking away from this conversation. Mr. Martin Ayisi is the CEO of the Minerals Commission. Thank you so much, sir. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
This is Breakfast on GTV. We'll take a break. There is